the majority of what we get in are the rough and ready standard cars like this, and we just want big power from them. Right then, so we're just starting this A3 that we've finally got sorted. We've had it here a little bit longer than we'd hoped, but as usual with these sort of jobs, everybody changes their mind on what they want, what they can have, what they need, and we have to do what we can do to satisfy that. And this one's been a big build. It's been in and out a few times, mainly because it's a BKD and they're absolutely painful at times. It's a fairly early model, so originally when it came into us, it had the usual, it made good power, did what it needed to do, but then it had it a couple of months and the head cracked, which it was surprising that it weren't cracked before it came anyway, so we're pretty lucky. So I think then at that point it had a 2260 totally standard engine, 2260, 120% injectors, and it made 290s knocking on 300 horsepower, something like that. So it weren't bad at all. Now it's come back for a lot more work. It's got the GTD 28 turbo on, and obviously to get the most from that, we could just put it on a standard engine, but to get the most from it, the customer got us to port the head, fully build the engine, and knowing what we know from the Rosa days when we were drag racing, we do prefer to put, there's some right crap in this car, we do prefer to build them based on a 1.9 block. Well, a 2 litre 8 valve block would be the best one to build it on, you wouldn't have to bore it then, but this has got a 1.9 block crank oil pump, and then we've put a BKD head on there, a brand new AMC one, and we've ported that out because we tried saving the customer a bit of money before because the bill were getting a bit out of hand, and we ported the standard head from I think it were a 2008 58 engine, so it should be the C revision that everybody talks about, that doesn't leak, doesn't crack, and it cracked. So we said this is the last time we'll do it on this. So at the minute this is 1.9, bought out 2 litre to take the 16 valve pistons because they are different. The pistons have got the ceramic coating, the valve pockets cut in there, the bowls being machined for lower compression. Smokes a little bit when you first start it, when it's flat cold, which you've got to accept that on a car like this. And the 120% injectors give you a little bit of smoke, even on a standard engine with a cold start, but not too much. It's livable. But as you can see, I'm driving this now. It's fine. 5th gear at 40 mile an hour. Doing a few PSI of boost, so we have to get us going. It's not kicking out any smoke. Yeah, spec-wise, standard cams. We've got some upgraded BKD cams that we tested before, and we never liked the results, but better off leaving the standard ones in. Just trying to think if there's anything else in the recipe that we've not said. What the hell's going on with this bloody window? Keeps going up and down on its end. So as usual, with all the fastest cars that we've got, this one's not the tidiest of examples. Looks like somebody's been living inside car, but he wanted to spend a load of money on it. So the base engine it's an expensive build because of what you'd have to do to build these engines, but it's got H-beam rods, all the usual suspects, which there'll be a full spec list below, so I can't go into everything. ARP hardware where we can, our head bolts, because they have to have a machine so that you can hold the cam carrier down, they've got to have an hole drilled through them, so ARP and them sort of companies don't make any for that. So the engine is as bulletproof as you're going to get a BKD to be. It's got the best recipe. 28 turbo on one of our tubular manifolds. It's got our tip pipe, our boost pipes, the upgraded S3 intercooler. It's got an electric water pump like the Border, which will link to that as well. We run that in all our cars if we can. What else has he got? Loads of stuff, I just keep forgetting. So the power output this is kicking out at the minute, it's doing 350 brake horsepower at the flywheel and 500 foot-pounds on diesel only. When we put the water injection on, we get about another 20 foot-pound and another 10 horsepower, so we're at 360, so 350, 360 horsepower in a car that you can drive 50 mile an hour, 6 gear, you tip in a little bit, you get a little bit of acceleration. Don't get me wrong, it's not like a standard car at them sort of RPMs, but it drives absolutely fine, so it's not the undrivable race spec car that people would think it'd have to be in at this sort of power. It would be nice to have a lot more bottom end, but the bottom end torque's what kills things. As far as we've seen from all our testing in the Arosa, which gets absolutely frapped all the time, and all our track cars, we've never killed one of these engines by revving them hard. So we rev this, I think this is revving to 55 or something like that. The Arosa rev nearly to 6. We've never broke a diesel engine revving them that hard, don't get me wrong. The pistons are heavy, the rotating mass is heavy. It's not ideal revving them to that sort of RPMs. Past 55 you're sort of wasting your time really, just leave that extra for the second to third on the Rosa. But having the sort of the power band from 3 to 5 and a bit is not bad. People say, oh, it's a short power band, you've got a longer power band in this car and that car, and maybe in a direct injection petrol engine you've got a broader power band, but they've got shorter gears anyway, so it's irrelevant. You've got a nice power band, nice boost threshold, and the good thing with this 28 turbo, you've got a really good transient response. So when you're on and off the throttle and between gears, the boost straight there, you're not waiting for it. Some smaller turbos can't even achieve that. So I'll just peg it down a few gears and get a little blast. Really ripping. This is a quick car. I'll probably turn traction off out of this next one. So gearbox wise, this is on a long ratio PD 170, PPD 170, whatever you want to call it. 6-speed O2Q, single mass flywheel, quaif diff, all the usual box strengthening mods that we do. Get another little rip. So it definitely smokes more than I'd want my personal car to smoke, but this customer, he's happy with what he's got. Getting up a little bit. That second gear, people say, oh, it's these high torque 500 foot-pound engines, they're not going to put the power down in the low gears. If you don't set off wheel spinning, so from a rolling start, you get tons of traction because of the diff and the way the power's delivered. It's obviously on a dyno graph it looks really lumpy and like it's not going to be drivable, but in the lower gears, because the load's lower, the boost comes in a little bit smoother, a bit steadier anyway, so you still get nice response. That's 2 grand just tipping a little bit, you get what you need straight away, but you're not fighting wheel spin all over the place. Obviously it's a dry day, but this has not got any fancy tyres. It's got decent tyres on it, not fancy ones. But just a little bit of throttle, a little bit more, and away you go. It's a quick car. It's a quick car, and from our previous testing, because we've had cars driving for years with this sort of spec, our own cars and customer cars, they're absolutely fine. And the economy, if you drive them gently, you drive them to the turbo sort of threshold, you're not sort of coming on boost and shutting off and changing gear. If you just drive it where the turbo's just doing a few PSI of boost, cruising along, not lugging the engine too low, not revving it too high and going too hard on the pedal, they're really, really efficient. This car, I'd be surprised if the customer on the way home, they'll probably do 30 miles per gallon driving it like a div, but when he reins himself back in a little bit and cruises, it'll definitely do 50 miles per gallon. It'll be absolutely fine. So I think the customer will love it. It takes some doing to get these cars to where this one is, but for most customers, they don't need to build the engine. You just need a good, solid, sound engine, especially when it's a BKD. If it's leaking any coolant, it's ghost. You need a new head. But they're absolutely perfect when you just put the head bolts in. If you really want to, put some rod bolts in. 2260 or the 28 turbo, 120% injectors. Absolutely perfect. Really nice. Easily daily drivable, very reliable. The main thing you've got to do with any engine, especially something like this, you just want to keep it nice and cool. So what we're running now, water temp's got electric water pump. Water pump's just ticking off and hard even after that hard run. 70 odd degree coolant temp, which will start climbing up a bit while we're ticking over. I think target's 80 on this. 80 degrees oil temp, because we've got the oil core on there. EGTs, they get hot on this. There's no way you can keep EGTs low. They're going to be knocking on 1,000 degrees if you're absolutely on it for a long time. But from our experience, with this being a daily driver and not a track car, it'll be absolutely fine. If you're going to take it on the motorway and see how fast you can get it, then it wants tuning. It needs tuning like a track car as such, where you're sort of targeting low 900 EGTs sustained, but you're not going to be sort of melting anything at that. But we run 920s on A5, City Go, a B for track car, race car, whatever you want to call it. We run like low 920s on that, and we've never had a problem on track, and we kill them. The only time you're going to have a problem is when the coolant gets hot. You start lowering how much coolant capacity you've got, the oil starts to get hot. When the oil gets hot and the coolant gets hot, the heat's got nowhere else to go other than to start propagating in the piston and start melting things. But up to now, we've never melted a good piston. We've melted the crap pistons. There's a few brands that are not very good, so if you want the rare ones, you buy them from us. But we've never melted a good piston that's had that coating on. So it's we know we've got the recipe, but it's took so long for us to get these how we want to get them. we've done the R&D. I don't know if people seen the A5 videos. We don't just think that's good, let's build it, sell it and see what happens. We test it, we blow them up, we melt them, we cause all manner of problems. Then we find the recipe and that's what we sell. This car, like I said at the start of the video, it's not the best. Apparently it's going in for some bodywork. Every car seems to be going in for some bodywork after it's been for us. Been for us to do what we're doing. The worst ones when people say we're going to take it for the new brakes after you've done what you're doing, and we've been able to drive it with standard single piston 256mm brakes or whatever, but not on this car. This has got, last time it came in we put the Porsche Cayenne 17Z caliper, so 6-pot. Can't remember what side bloody discs are on this now, but they're fairly big. I think they're 312s or something like that, and they work pretty good. This is only on, I think it's only got H&R coil, H&R springs on some standard shocks at minute, but it's done a few miles now, this car. Don't know how many it's done because the customer for some reason likes to reset mileage to 0 and then reset it to 10,000. I don't know. Strange. Why he does it, I'm not quite sure. Maybe it does 50,000 miles between each time it comes to us, and that's why it needs loads of work all the time. We never know. But yeah, we'll get out, have a look, see what we can find. Hopefully Danny doesn't have to cut loads of what I'm talking about out of this video, because it'll might not work, but we'll see. So see you when we get to workshop. Right, so we've been out for a little drive. You can see it drives as you'd expect. Drives really nice. Danny's told me I had to change my t-shirt because I got an hole in it. It was covering most of my body up, which I think that's definition of clothing, but anyway, whatever. So under the engine bay, if you see, it should have an engine cover on, but that's buried in boot and boot ain't open, but that's not what we've done. So looks pretty standard. We've removed standard airbox so we could put this AM filter on, which this is probably 10,000 mile old, maybe more, so probably wants another blowout at some point, maybe a fresh one that'll look a bit redder. I did say on video it got one of our tip pipes on. I'm a liar, that it hadn't. So anyway, I do apologise. So you don't need it, just for looks. Snow performance, water injection tank. We found this seems to be easiest place for us to put things, so we put that there, pumps underneath. Nozzle goes in just down here, which you can't really see too well, just after map sensor. And yeah, it fairly straightforward. It's got one of our billet EGR deletes. The electric water pump's buried underneath there as well. Had to get rid of aircon to get that to go in, which you can't really see it, it's under alternator. But nice neat installation of that as well. Yeah, gearbox wise, it's like we said, it's got the diff and everything, so even second gear, stamp it, away you go. You're not pulling all of it road and going mental. Brakes, it's got the Brembo 6 pots. They were all used when they got put on there, and it's done a few miles since we did that. I think they're the 312mm discs, aren't they? I said that. I think the 312. Can't remember. But we sell stuff to do it anyway. Inside, what you probably didn't see on that video, this is a water pump controller. That, if I lean over and just start it, you'll be able to hear how easily it starts. There we go, no messing. That's telling you it's coming on, so that's saying it's in position number 2, speed number 2. We don't know what RPM that is, but when it gets all the way to the top here, that's when it's on full, and then it'll start to look like Night Rider and start LEDs start flashing on. That's when your fans are on, so the fans are controlled from this as well. That's when you're 5 degrees over. I'll turn this off because it's noisy and it's red hot. We've got water temp gauge. This is a digital one with a warning. something like this shouldn't be getting anywhere near 100, but if it got over 100, 105, we should start to worry. Oil temp gauge, this one is another AEM one. 120 is about where your critical oil temp's going to be. It's got a 1 hour oil course, so it's not going to get to that. And then EGT gauge, this is Hewitt Industries one. This is in Fahrenheit, so 1800 is about 980, I believe, something like that. That's roughly where we want to be with this. It'd probably get over 1000 if you really wanted to, but that's where we want to be at the most, really. 1800. This goes to 2000 Fahrenheit, so we've got a little bit of headway there, a bit of headroom, should I say. So that's that. This car's an absolute pigsty inside, can't even get into the boot. Rear brakes, they're just the vented R32 rears. Cupra S3 are all the same. H&R springs. It's not on any fancy tyres, I don't even know what the bloody are, Continentals, but they're not crappy, but it grips alright. It does what we need it to do. But it's a pretty standard looking car. It's a bit scruffy from all the tuning it's had done, needs a clean. But it's a standard looking car. This is the majority of what we get in are the rough and ready standard cars like this, and they just want big power from them. What they do with them is their business, but generally they're just going to get a little thrashing on a B road, a little bit in a go up a bypass, and away you go. The race car stuff is totally different, and you don't tune them exactly the same as that, but we're out in this in a couple of weekends, so yeah, hopefully this has been interesting. I've probably missed absolutely tons of stuff. I've not gone too technically detailed. If anybody needs to know anything, ask in comments. We answer every question as best we can, and the questions that are in there will be put in our next video about this sort of stuff if we can. So like, share, subscribe, and if you need any diesel tuning, bring it to us.